All right. It's recording. That's good. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second workshop about Excel skills. Today, we're going to learn how to use Excel to calculate numbers. We're going to learn some Excel commonly used functions and then some useful formulas. Okay, so first of all, if you want to follow me, you can work on your laptop. Otherwise, you can just watch the screens. So I'm going to open an Excel file, new Excel workbook. Right. We do have some attendance online. So for online people, if you have any questions, just speak out. Okay. I may come here to have a look every now and then. Okay. Okay. So this is Excel workbook. If you came here last week, not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, in the first session, we talked about how to manage the data in Excel workbook. So we have an Excel workbook here, and then you can have a multiple worksheets if you like. Okay, you have multiple worksheets. So now I'm going on the worksheet number 1. How to use formula or function. Every single cell in Excel worksheet is a calculator. Every single cell. We have so many cells here on one worksheet. Every single cell can be used for calculation. And then those cells can be connected. So in terms of calculation, Excel is quite useful, quite powerful. Okay. So let's see how to do some very simple calculation. You probably know already. So how to add up things, subtraction, division, and multiplication. So every time you want to start some calculation in Excel, you have to start with the equal sign. Equal sign. So I want to calculate like let's see 10 plus 2. And the plus one is a shift, the key next to backspace. 10 plus 2. And then enter, you get the results. 12. All right. And how to calculate the 100 minus 90. 100 minus 90. Then enter. You can answer 10. All right. My computer is a bit slow today. I don't know why. Okay. So, and then how to calculate multiplication. Again, you start with the equal sign. I want to multiply the value in cell A1 with the value in cell A2. So you can just highlight with a mouse. Once you click the cell, Excel will type in the reference to the cell. It's A1. Okay. And then how to do the multiplication? You type the shift number 8. That's multiplication. So A1 times the value in A2. Once you press enter, Excel will do the calculation. 120. Okay, so that's easy. Let me plug in my power port first, in case my laptop ran out of power. My power thing is here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's charging now. Good though. Okay. All right. So plus, minus, multiplication, and the last one is division. So I want to divide the value in A3. Let's say divide it with 6. Okay, so you start the calculation with your equal sign, and then A3, which is 120. Divide is a forward slash. That's division. Okay, divide by, let's divide by 6. Yep. Enter. The answer is 20. All right. So very simple formula to calculate the plus, minus, multiplication, and division. Any questions for people online? I believe it's very, very easy now. All good? Okay. All right. Now let's do something more complicated. So how to calculate 2 to the power of 5. 2 to the power of 5. That means multiply 2 5 times. How to do that? Well, you can do this one. You can 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Of course, it works. It will be 32. Okay. Otherwise, you can do this. 2 to the power of something. You use shift 6. A little hat. That means the exponent, the power of something. So 2 to the power of 5. So 2 shift 6, the little hat, and then 5. This means 2 to the power of 5 in the syntax of Excel formula. Okay, so I believe the answer is 32 as well. Okay, give it a try. How about 4 to the power of -1? What is 4 to the power of -1? What is that? It's 1 over 4 to the power of 1, right? So it's 1 over 4. So how do I write 4 to the power of -1? You like same thing, 4 to the power of something, shift 6, -1, you have to put in the brackets. Okay. The answer is 1 over 4, which is 0.25. If you don't use the brackets, I guess you probably get an error. Let me try. Still works. Okay, cool. It still works. All right. So without power brackets still works. Okay. How about the square root of 9? How to calculate square root of 9? The square root of 9 means 9 to the power of 1 over 2, right? Nine to the power of 1 over 2, the fractional exponent, that means square root. Okay. The square root of 9 is 3. Am I right? Yeah. So in this case, if you don't use the brackets, you probably get something wrong. Nine to the power of 1 over 2. So if I don't use brackets, I will get something wrong. Excel will calculate 9 to the power of 1 and divide the things by 2. I probably get 4.5. Yeah. So in Excel formulas, by default, Excel will calculate the things in the brackets first. Okay. And then I will calculate the thing like to the power of something. And then we'll calculate multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction from left to right. Okay, so let's say if I want to calculate this one. Okay, give me 1 second. Paint. If I want to calculate, okay, let's say 10 sticker divided by 2 divided by the square root of 4. If I don't use calculator, if I do it manually, what is the answer? What's the answer? So we keep 10 there above the line. That's in the numerator. And then we do this calculation here first, right? This part. So this part will be 2 over the square root of 4 is calculated first, right? The square root of 4 is 2, right? And then we calculate the denominator, 2 over 2. So the answer is 10 divided by 1, which is 10. That is the correct way to calculate this thing, right? Now, how do I do this calculation in the blue box? How do I do this in Excel? Let's give it a try. How do I do that? So, how should I write it? Equal sign first, of course, right? Equal sign. And then we write 10. Okay. 10 is divided by something. So / division. Okay. And then 2 over the square root of 4. Now, square root of 4, you can write as 4 to the power of 1 over 2. You can also write as SQRT. SQRT means calculating the square root of something. So SQRT, and you put the 4 in the brackets. SQRT means the square root of something, okay? So 10 over 2 over the square root of 4. If you just do this, Excel will calculate the square root of 4 first. So this one will become 2. And then Excel will calculate 10 over 2 over 2 from left to right. So 10 over 2 is 5. 5 over 2, you will get 2.5 in the end. But we know the answer should be 10 over here, right? So what should you do here? You should put 2 over the square root of 4 in a pair of brackets. And then enter. Get 10. So you put 10 over 2 divided by the square root of 4, and then 2 divided by the square root of 4, you should put them in a pair of brackets. So we are not sure about the automatic order of calculation in Excel. Just put the things in brackets according to what you want to calculate, okay? Yeah. And then to shift between the values and the formula, you can just press Control and the button next to 1. You can shift between formulas and the values. The button to the next of 1 on your keyboard, or the button below ESC key, shift control that one, control that one. You can toggle between formula view and then value view. Otherwise, you go to formulas. This one, show formula. You turn it on, it will show formula. If you turn it off, it will show the values of the cell. Okay. Formulas, show formulas. If you don't want to see formulas, want to see the values, turn it off. Okay. And then the hotkey is Control and then that button below ESC key. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? People online, any questions? Oh, good. All right, let's continue. That's the simple stuff. So let's try something more exciting. How about calculating the absolute value of something? So if I put value like a minus 4 here, it's minus 4. Minus 4 times minus 4 to the power of 2. Minus 4 times minus 4 is a positive 16, right? But what if I want to get the absolute value of minus 4? There's a function called ABS. ABS. That calculator, that function will return the absolute value of something. Okay. So when I press ABS and then open the brackets, I want the minus 4 in there. And then enter. The answer is 4. So the ABS function is absolute value. ABS and the brackets. Okay, yeah. And how about calculating the e to the power of something? Let's see. E to the power of 3. How do I get the E in Excel? You know, E is a mathematical constant. It's called the Euler's number. So E is about approximately 2.7 something. I can't remember. Okay, it's a very long number. 2.7 something. Guess. Okay. Then how do I get E to the power of something? In Excel, you can write like this. You type equal sign first, and then EXP will return a raise to the power of a given number. Given number. Okay, raise E to a given number. So if I want to calculate E to the power of 3, so EXP3. EXP3 is probably 2.7 to the power of 3 is probably 20 something. Okay. 20-ish. Yeah. So E is almost 3, right? 2.7. So 3 to the power of 3 is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. So E to the power of 3 is 20-ish, 20 point something. If you are working in finance or accounting, you may need to use E, or engineering, they use a lot E. Oh, so in Excel, EXP, or E to the power of 1 is itself. Let's see, 2.7718. Okay. All right. If you don't want that long decimals I showed you last time, you can highlight the cells you want to reduce decimal and go to Home, and then click this little button here. It's in numbers. You can add more decimals, or you can reduce the decimals. Excel will do the rounding up automatically. Any number smaller or equal to 4 will be dropped. Any number larger than 5 or above will be move up to next level, right? So like 20.085, if I reduce to 3 decimals, it will become 20.086. Okay. 2.718, if I reduce to 2 decimals, it will become 2.72. Okay, yeah, this little button is very helpful. This little button just change the look of the decimals in your cell. It doesn't do the rounding. The value is still there. So if I reduce this to like 0 decimals, no decimals, and then I say this cell is equal to this to the power of 2, I still get the decimals values carry forward in my calculation. Okay, so this 2 little buttons, they just change the look of decimals in your cell. It doesn't really cut off any value. Okay, yeah. If you really want to round up the values, you can use a function called round, equal sign round. Okay, and then you choose the value you want to round, and then comma, you choose how many digits you want. How many decimals you want. I say I want only 2 decimals. And then 2.718 will become 2.72. And all the things after that will disappear. All right, it's 2.72 now forever in that cell. So if you really want to round something up, round it, you have to use a round function. Okay. There are more complicated rounding functions in Excel. You can always check. Okay. If you go to formulas, there are heaps of formulas here. Financial formula functions, You can also work with text. You can also work with date and time. Okay. And then also of course here, engineering, statistics, information, mathematics, a lot of functions in Excel you can use. Nobody can remember all of them. We always check what is available in Excel when we need something. So, I mean, try Google or YouTube the functions or the task you want to perform in Excel. Usually you will find some examples on the internet or on YouTube. Okay, so there's no need to remember everything. You just have to remember some commonly used ones. Okay. Okay. How about pi? Sometimes you need to use pi. Remember the pi? 3.14, blah blah blah. So for Excel, the pi is this one, pi, and then empty brackets. This will return the pi for you. Accurate to 15 digits. That's enough for most people. So if I enter pi, open brackets, 3.14, blah blah blah. Okay, that's the pi. Sometimes we need that in finance and engineering. All right. How about the logarithm of something? The logarithm. What's the logarithm of with a base of 2 of 8? Do you still remember logarithm from high school? If you learned that in high school? So what's the logarithm of 8 with a base of 2? So in other words, 2 to the power of what? You get 8. That's the logarithm, right? It's an opposite operation of exponential of power. Okay, so 2 to the power of something equals 8, and then what is the something? That's the logarithm of 8 with base 2, and then we know the answer is 3, right? 2 to the power of 3 is 8. So 2 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. You multiply 2 3 times, you get 8. So how to do the logarithm thing in Excel? After Googling, I found that it's called a log function, L-O-G, log. And then, first of all, you put the number you want to calculate logarithm for. In this case, is 8. And then, comma, you put the base value, which is 2. So this is the log of 2 with base, the log of 8 with a base of 2. The answer must be 3. And then the most commonly used the base in engineering, in mathematics, in finance, we normally calculate the log of something with base of e. Okay, we call this one natural logarithm. If the base number is e, the same e here, 2.7 blah blah blah, the Euler's number, we call that one natural logarithm. In Excel, the natural logarithm is using this function. It type ln, returns the natural logarithm of a number. Okay, the natural log of let's say natural log of I'm going to trick Excel. The natural log of e exp. I'm calculating this one. The log with e of e. The answer is of course is 1. E to the power of 1 is itself, right? Yeah, so it's here. If I do this, if I enter, it's just 1. So natural log is this function, ln something. Yeah, all right. So that's logarithm. And then okay, Excel also have a trigonometry functions. If you go here, cosine, sine, you still remember that one? You may need to use that sometimes. Sine, cosine, arc sine, arc cosine. Okay. What's the sign of pi? What's the sign of pi? What's the sign of half pi? You still remember that? You probably, if you don't use it, probably never. Half pi is a 90 degrees, right? So what's the sign of 90 degrees? Is it 1? I think it's 1, is it? So if I type pi over 2, that's the sign of half pi. I hope it's 1, okay? It's 1. So Excel has a bunch of trigonometry formulas here. If you go to formulas, math, and trigonometry, a bunch of trigonometry formulas. Okay. All right. You probably don't need to use a lot, depending on what you're studying. Okay. All right. Any questions for people online so far? That's the basics of the commonly used mathematical formulas and functions in Excel. I'm good. I'm still recording. Am I still recording myself? Yes, I am. Okay, let's move to something more interesting. Excel can also calculate logical operators. You go to here formula, I have a logical ones. Okay, so I'm going to introduce some commonly used. First of all, if function. If function requires you to put at least one thing, that is a logical evaluation. Like if this cell, let's say C9, larger than 1, I will return a value yes. Otherwise, I will return value no. So Excel formulas are not case sensitive. So I type uppercase if or lowercase if, doesn't really matter. Okay. So this one is calculating the value, checking if the value of cell C9 is larger than 1 or not. If it's larger than 1, and then the first value will be returned. Otherwise, if it's false, if it's equal or less than 1, and the second value no will be returned. In this case, the value will be no, because C1's currently is 1, right? So when I press enter, the answer will be no. Now, if I change C9 to, let's say 0, let's say 2. It become yes. All right. Control Z is to undo something. So every time you have a formula in your cell, go there and double click. You can edit the formula. Otherwise, go over here. Go here. You can edit the formula in the cell. Okay. And to jump out of the formula, press Enter or ESC key. Okay. So when I'm editing here, okay, and I want to come out of the formula, don't press any other cells. If you press any other cell, you get a reference over there. If you want to jump out of the formula, press ESC or press Enter. Okay, and then you're out of the formula. Oh, that's the if function. So for evaluation, this is larger than, and if I say smaller than is this one. It's a shift comma key. Okay, the smaller than. Smaller or equal than, you can put this one. Smaller or equal. If C9 is smaller or equal than 1, it's yes. Otherwise, no. So if I press enter now, the answer should be yes, because C9 is 1. Okay. Larger or equal, you can imagine, is this. If C1 is larger or equal than 1, it's yes. Otherwise, no. Okay. How about, and if I say equal, that is equal. If C1 is equal to 1, it's yes. Otherwise, no. Okay. Yeah. So larger than, smaller than, equal to, larger or smaller equal to smaller, larger equal, smaller equal doesn't matter. How about unequal to something? If I want to write unequal to, you use this one. You use both small and large at the same time. So if C9 is unequal to 1, then the answer is yes. Otherwise, I will return no. So in this case, currently C1 is 9. So this part will be false, right? So the answer will be no. Okay. If it's unequal to 1, then it's yes. If it's equal to 1, if it's not unequal to 1, that means it's equal to 1, the answer will be no, right? That's the if function. And of course, you can use if within if. Okay, you can use multiple if functions together. That will become a bit more complicated. Yeah. Let's give a try. So let's say if a number is let's try this number, okay? This cell, I'll give a color. I'm checking this cell as C14. So if C14 is a negative, I will see negative. If it's a positive, I will see positive. Otherwise, I will see 0. Okay. So equal sign. So if, open the brackets, if C4 is larger than 0, then I will see positive POS. Otherwise, that means if it's not larger than 0, if it's equal or less than 0. Otherwise, if it is equal to, if C4 is equal to 0, I will return 0. Okay. The value in as a text, you have to put in the double quotation marks. And then if it's not 0, I will say negative. And remember, have a close up brackets twice. This one is for the if function inside the if, and the second bracket is for the outer layer of if. All right. So this time, I'm checking the value in C14. If it's larger than 0, I will return positive. Otherwise, if it's equal to 0, I will return 0. Otherwise, I will return NEG, negative. Okay. 0. Currently, is nothing in there. So if I put a 9 here, I get positive. Yeah, if I put a negative 23, I get negative. Right? Yeah. If I type some words, I probably get error. Because Excel will convert a text into some number. So my evaluation here is not very 100% robust, because I have to check. First of all, I have to check if the cell is a number or not. False. Okay. If I put a number here, like 99, true. So this function is number function. Is number function. Okay. It's number to check if a cell is return a number or not. So it's number. So the answer is either true or false. Okay. There are heaps of functions in cell, and then Microsoft is updating cell almost every now and then, and they're releasing more useful functions. So if you have some question in your mind, you want to solve Excel, just Google it. Just Google it. All right. All right. Any questions for people online? Be quiet. All right, let's move on to something more interesting. How about I want a random number? A random number. Excel can return random number for you. Sometimes we need a random number. How about something randomly from 0 to 1? You can use this function, equal sign RAND. And then just empty brackets. Once you enter, Excel will return a random number decimal between 0 and 1. Okay. Every time you do something in Excel, or if you press F9, that random number will update. Okay. Every time you do something. If I change the value in C14, if I change to 100. Every time something happens in your workbook or in your spreadsheet, the random number function will be activated, and then a new number will be returned. Okay, yeah, that's the RAND. RAND is for return a random number between 0 and 1. How about I want a random number between 1 and then 100? How about I want a random number between 1 and 100, not between 0 and 1? What can I do? You can multiply this one with 10 with 100. Yeah, so every time you do something or press F9, function F9. It will change. Okay. But there's also a simple function, simpler option for you to return a random number between something. So it just type rand between this one. Rand between. And then I want the bottom is 1 and the top is 100. And this function rand between will return the full numbers between the bottom and the top. Integer, a full number. Okay, no decimals between 1 and 100. Between the bottom and the top, you specify here. Okay, I want something between 5 and then 10. Full numbers. Okay, it will change. Every time you do something in the spreadsheet, that random between function will be activated. How about let's do something tricky today, okay? How about I want to have a 10 random integers, I mean full numbers, 10 random integers between 1 and 100. And I want them to be different. I don't want repeated numbers in my 10 numbers. How to do that? I want 10 numbers randomly taken from the range between 1 and 100, and I want those 10 numbers to be different. I don't want any repeat. If I just use this one, rand between 1 and then 100, if I just use this one, equal, and then I drag it down to maybe vertically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this case is fine, but if I press F9 a few times, I may get some repetition. All right. Any repetition? I can highlight this one. I'll tell you a little trick, and go to conditional formatting, and then go to highlight duplicate values. Okay. You see that? I highlight the range of data I want to check. It could be a column, could be a row, could be a box, or matrix, doesn't matter. Home, conditional formatting, and then highlight rows, cells, duplicate values. And here you specify what color or something you want to highlight. Okay, I just use the default, the red color. So you can see, if I drag the rand between function between 1 and 100, I drag over 10 cells, and sometimes I get a repetition. I get the duplicates. So here I got 18 twice. I don't want that. How do I do that? Okay, I want 10 random numbers from 1 to 100, and then I want 10 of them to be different. No repetition, no duplicates. I'll tell you a little trick. So first of all, let's do it here. First of all, I'm going to use a function called a sequence. There's a new dynamic array function. Okay. Last session 2 weeks ago we learned sort and then filter. So today let's have a look at sequence. And then just if I just type 100, Excel will generate a sequence from 1 to 100 from the single function I use here in I3 cell, in cell I3, sequence 100. As a 1 column, 100 rows, and then step by 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 100. That's my pool of 100 numbers. I want to randomly draw 10 from. Okay. And then I'm going to sort this sequence from 1 to 100 by 100 random numbers. What should I do? I'm going to use the sort by function. So out of the sequence function, I'm going to type sort by and open the brackets. See, the sequence 100 is the 100 numbers I want to sort. I want to sort it by something. So comma, I want to sort it by array. I want to sort it by random array. I want to sort by 100 random numbers. Okay. That's the trick of randomly draw something from the list. You sort the list by random numbers, and then you take the top 10 or top 5 because they are randomly sorted. The top 5 or top 10 or bottom 5, bottom 10 will be a random 5 or random 10 of the original list. Okay, so I want to sort this sequence 100 by, so comma, by array of random numbers. So this I'm going to use a new function in Excel called a rand array. The rand and rand between functions are old one. This rand array function is kind of new, only a few years new. Okay, since 2019, 2 or 3 years ago. So random array, you can generate array of random numbers, multiple columns, multiple rows, doesn't matter. I'm going to just type 100. If I just type random array 100, it will just become one column of 100 numbers in 100 rows. Okay. Yeah. So now my original sequence from 1 to 100 are randomly sorted based on a random array of 100 numbers. If you want to know what is random array of 100, you should just type in a new cell, just type 100 rand array and 100, see what it is. It's just 100, just 100 random numbers. Okay. Between 0 and 1. But random array can do more. If you want to know more about random array, just Google that. You can specify the bottom and the minimum, maximum, the bottom and the top. And you can specify how many rows and how many columns random numbers you want. And you can also specify how many decimals you want the random numbers to be. But here I just type random array 100. That will be 100 rows, 1 column between 0 and 1, and then some decimals. Okay, I'm just being lazy here. That's random array. I can delete. First delete. All right, so now go back. We have sort our sequence, original sequence of 100 numbers by an array of 100 random numbers. Now I'm going to take the top. How many do I want? On 10, right? I can take top 10. So I can put the brackets around the whole thing. and then put them as the input of function take. Comma, I want to take 10 rows. So you can see the sort by sequence of random array I put into the take function, and I wanted to pick the top 10 rows. That a comma 10. Comma 10 means the top 10. Okay. If I put a comma minus 10, it will take the bottom 10 from the list. Okay. Yeah. So enter. I get 10 numbers. I'll add them. Count is 10 at the bottom. You see, I get 10 values. They are randomly 10 numbers, 10 full numbers between 100 and between 1 and 100. And then there's no repetition, no duplicates. All right. Everything comes from this single cell. I use quite a few different functions. I use a sort by, I use a sequence, I use run array, I use sort by, I use take. I use 4 functions. And then I think there are new functions. If you use an older version of Excel, like Excel 2016 or older versions, you probably don't have these functions. And they all generated from this one single function in cell I3. Okay. If I reference to if I type here, equal to I3, what will happen? What value do I get? I get 44. I'm at 12, whatever in I3. Okay. But if I want to refer to the whole array generated by I3, I mentioned last time, if you still remember, you have to type a the hashtag after that. I3 hashtag. This will refer to the whole array of results generated by the formula in I3. Okay, in this case, I will get the whole list of things. Great. So if I just refer to I3, it will just return the value in I3. But if I put the I3 hashtag, because the formula in I3 is a dynamic array, I will refer to the whole list from the dynamic array function in I3. Okay, that's the new syntax in Excel since probably 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, if you learned Excel many years ago, you probably don't know this stuff. All right, we have a few minutes left. Let's move to the last one. The last one I want to talk about is okay. Let me show you something first, and then if we have time, let's talk about something in the last. So in the formula tab here, you see we have a formula auditing functions. So if you press show formula, it will switch between the value view and the formula view of your spreadsheet. So if you press formula, show formula, it will show all the formulas in the cell of your spreadsheet. If you turn it off, it will go back to the original cell view. Okay, this is the show formula view. For one cell, if you want to trace the precedence, like what other cells are used to calculate the value of C15, this one, I make it red. You can press the cell you want to check, and then go to formula, and then you can, in the formula auditing, you can check trace precedence. Okay. Now you can see an arrow pointing from C14 to C15. And you press presence again. And if on the remove arrow, just press remove arrow. But if I make it more complicated, if I what's 33 here? Let's say this one comes from this cell divided by 10. No. Make it a bit further away. Let's say this come from this cell divided by 10. Okay. And then if I press this button and then press again. So I can have a I can trace multiple steps back. Okay, so you can see C14 fit into C15 and then C9 fit into C14. Okay. And then if you want to remove the arrows, just press remove arrow. Okay. And then if I do this one, because C822 plus this one, press the wrong button. This one. And then if I press trace back. So this is like a way to check the formulas when you get some of the else formulas on your spreadsheet. Okay. Remove arrows. And if you press trace dependence, I will point into the cell which use the cell you are highlighting. Okay. Yeah. And the other formula useful thing is this one, evaluate formula. And then you can highlight a cell like this one, and then make an array one, or maybe this one. Okay. And then press evaluate formula, and then you can do this step by step. That's first step. You get a sequence of 100 numbers. Okay. Next, sort by. Okay. That's a evaluate formula. If you want to check a complicated calculation step by step. Okay. And show errors. Currently, we don't have errors, but if there's error, they will show up the errors. Okay. Okay, we have a last 5 minutes. I'm going to demonstrate something interesting. It's called the XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP. So let's move to our new spreadsheet. So I have let's say something here. So I may go over 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. So let's say we have a name. We have a age. That's the age. Let's say we have name. We have a major, and then we have school. Let's have some data here. We have a few people. Okay, we have Adam. We have Lily. We have Ben, and we have Jane. All right, and we study something. We study accounting. And we study finance. Study marketing, and we study accounting again. School from this one, QT. Let's say UQ. Okay. This one should be called university, not school or uni. All right. So let's say I have a long list of things, of people, of students, and then I want to find I want to find out what's Adam studying. So I have Adam here. I can use the XLOOKUP function. The value you want to look up, which is Adam. Okay. And then comma. And then where is the array you want to look up? It's here. Okay. Here. And then what you want to return is here. Okay. And you can also tell Excel, what should I return if Excel cannot find any Adam? You can tell Excel say no found, none. Oh, no find, not found. And you can also tell Excel to do exact match, and then if you don't put anything here, it will be by default exact match. And you can also tell Excel to search from top to bottom or bottom to top, in case there are more than one atoms. Okay, so accounting. Yeah, that's XLOOKUP. If I have two people here, Lily, if I drag this formula down, let's see what happens. It works this time by accident, but the formula is not right, because if I go back to formulas and then show formula, you see the difference? When I drag the XLOOKUP formula from F2 to F3, the reference to the range also changed from A2, A5 to A3, A6, because it's a one row down. So if you are using the lookup formula in a list, if you drag it down, make sure you lock them first. So I should lock the row number. I should lock them up. Once you put the $sign in front of row number, it will lock the row number. If you put $sign in front of column letter, it will lock the column. Okay. So in this case, if I drag this formula at the bottom right, if you see the black cross, if you drag it down, the reference is still the same. Okay, so be careful when you use the XLOOKUP function. When you drag across rows or columns, make sure you lock the rows or columns if you need to. Okay, and then a quick shortcut to lock thing is by doing this. You highlight the part you want to lock and then press F4. You press F4 once, it locked a column. You press F4 second time. You press F4 once, lock everything, column and row. You press F4 again, only lock rows. If you press F4 again, only lock the columns. If you press F4 again, it will come back to unlock. Yeah. So in this case, you can either lock both column and the row, or maybe just lock the row, because you are dragging over the row. Okay. Yeah. The F4 key is a shortcut key. All right. Now I'm going to show you something. One more thing before we finish today. So how about if I want change this now? Let me make another item here. I want to find out okay. Let's have two items, one in QT, one in UQ. And then these two atoms studying two different majors. I want to find out the atom at QUT. I want to find out what's the atom at QUT study. I don't want the result from UQ. Okay, I want the atom at QUT. How to do that? So my name is here, Adam. So we can use XLOOKUP. This time I have to have two criteria. One is the name is Adam. Second one is the university had to be QUT. Okay, so suppose I have QUT here. Okay, so equal sign XLOOKUP. Again, lookup value will be Adam. And then you press Shift 7 and QUT. You use the and to combine two criteria and comma. And then the lookup range will be the column of names and the column of universities. Comma. And then I want to return the value from the column major. Okay. And if you don't do anything, if nothing is found, we'll return an error. Okay. And then by default is the exact match. And then by default is a search from top to bottom. So if I just finish here and press enter, I get accounting. Okay. And if I change my lookup value to UQ, this time it will return finance. And then I don't think Excel is in this case is a case insensitive. So it doesn't matter if lowercase or uppercase. Okay. Fine. Lowercase Adam still works. Okay, so it's not case sensitive. So here, this is one way to do that. So you can combine two criteria or even three criteria. You can use the AND button or AND key to combine more than one criteria for the lookup. Okay. And then by default, Excel will search from top to bottom. You can also ask it to search from bottom to top. It's a specified search model here. You have to specify that. Search, how to search it, bottom to top or top to bottom. And then, yeah. So if there are two QUT atoms, Excel will return the first one. Sorry. So if there are two QUT atoms, and then by default search from top to bottom, Excel will return this guy. If I change my search model from last to first, Excel will return the second one, this one. How about I want both of them? Then I have to use the function I told you last time. If you came here last week, I want to show you again before we close. Remember last time we learned something called a filter? You probably forgot. That's what we learned last week. Filter. You learned that? We can filter out the three columns by including, according to this column, equal to Adam. And so you have a multiple criteria and put in brackets, and this column equal to QT. and then close the filter function. When I have a multiple criterion and combine them, if I can combine them by and, I use multiplication. If I combine them by or, I use plus. So here I want both criteria to be satisfied, so I have to put and. So name equal to Adam and university equal to QT. So I multiply these two criteria because I want both of them to be met at the same time. And if I press enter, I get 2 rows. Okay. So we had a few exercises last week about filtering function. If you remember that one, have a look. Try. If I only want the middle column, I think I just put this. It still works. Yeah. If I only want the column B major, I just change my the filter column from B2 to B5. In this case, we'll just return the 2 majors. Okay. Yeah. If I want to return the 3 columns, it's from A2 to C5. Anyway, I just introduced the things you probably didn't think they are possible or easy to be performed these days in Excel. Of course, if it's the first time you learn this, it will take you some time to digest. But at least we know we can do many cool things in Excel these days. Excel is improving every day, every single day. So again, when you come across some real world questions, just give a try. And then if you can't solve it, just Google. Very often, 99% of times you will find some solution, and you'll probably find different solutions, and some are smarter, some are slower. But just remember, Excel can do very cool things these days. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, I'll go over probably by 10 minutes. Thank you for coming here today. I'm looking forward to meeting you again in 2 weeks. In next workshop, we'll talk about pivot table. Pivot table is a very, very useful thing in Excel. We will talk about how to use pivot table to create tables from data. Also some tips about some cool functions in pivot table or formatting tips. So if you have time, please drop in. It will be in 2 weeks. Same room, Tuesday, 12, hopefully to 11 a.m. to hopefully 12 p.m. or maybe 5 minutes over that. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. For people online, we still have some people online. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end. Do you have any questions or something, comments? No? All right. Okay, thank you again. I'm going to close the session and then turn off the recording. Bye-bye. Thank you.